Good morning, everybody. And it is indeed morning, isn't it? Bright and early here on the West Coast, wherever you are in the world. Hope today's off to a good start. If you're in Australia, I guess it's probably tomorrow. All right, ask me anything, kicking off. Got some coffee, got about half a cup left, got the questions called up, and life's good. We'll go ahead and get into this. All right, let's see. I do a little bit of organizing a question here. All right, before we dive into the questions, there's some good ones. There's just two cool little shout outs I want to give to people. Just things that I screenshot over the course of the week or whatnot when they catch my attention in the Facebook group, in the BTWB squads feature, or whatever it happens to be. The first one is from Christina G, and she posted this in the Linchpin private Facebook group. And this was the other day when the workout of the day was 8x200 meter repeats, foot sprints. And she said, I had a 30-minute window to work out this morning at 5 a.m. before work. So real sprints were off the table, and I was still way too sleepy. So I changed it to 8 intervals of 1 minute on, 2 minutes off for the bike erg, followed by a cold shower. First of all, that might be a really simple post right there, right? You're like, well, what jumps out about that? When I read that, what made me so incredibly happy was a whole bunch of things. First of all, she had an abbreviated window of time to work out in the morning, 30 minutes at 5 a.m. And it's a sprint day, kind of like a heavy lift day where most of us need to give our attention to a really good warm-up so that we don't pull a strain something because it's a demanding session. And through her time with Linchpin, she has developed and increased her strength and conditioning knowledge base to understand. She looked at her schedule, looked at her time, looked at the workout, did all of this internal math and was like, okay, can't do it this hour, real sprints, hamstring's going to be no good. How can I preserve the stimulus and intent of the day, but do it in a way that is appropriate for this hour with an abbreviated warm-up? So she didn't run, she hopped on the bike erg, set a 1 minute on, 2 minutes off. I mean, everything about this post, as simple as the post is like so perfect. It's like strength and conditioning enlightenment. It makes me so happy. So anyway, that was really cool. And then the other one was an email that I got that warmed my heart from somebody 2 weeks into their 30-day free trial. This is from Dawn S. It says, it's only been 2 weeks, but I can pretty much guarantee I'll be continuing. I've really loved your programming. I've done a lot of CrossFit in my day. And in 2 weeks, you have programmed workouts and things that most CrossFit coaches neglect, like hollow rocks, V-ups, and push-ups. I certainly would not do them on my own. I appreciate the many options to choose from, as most days I have to switch based on location, whether I'm at work or at home, and of course time. It bothers me when I can't do the workout prescribed or scaled because I'm at work due to limited time and equipment, but I choose the dumbbell option and I'm not disappointed. Although I don't want to post my times quite yet on Facebook, I don't mind sharing my results on BTWB. This gives me accountability to give my full effort knowing that I have to post it, even if no one's looking at it. I'm encouraged by reading everyone's posts and comments in the Facebook group. You are right about that community. It's pretty great. I look forward to seeing where Linchpin will take me in the future. So, pretty cool. And as always, like I said, I'm not lying about our community. All right, let's go ahead and dive right in. First one from Marcus M. 0 to 60 with no warm-up. That's how he rolled into the question. CrossFitters say that we prepare for the unknown, that we train a certain way to prepare ourselves for whatever comes our way. I'm a full-time firefighter, and we never know what our next call will be and when it is. That means that we can go straight from bed to heavy lifting, high heart rate, and so on, with no warm-up, obviously. So my question is, as long as I do my regular warm-ups in training, I train smart, I scale when I need to, and I stretch, should this be enough to prepare my body for that night call? Great question. So first of all, I would say you don't have another option. I think that's the simplest answer to the question. That I don't know of a better option for you to train smart and make the best decisions humanly possible when you are allowed to do it, and then you deal with the monkey wrench that comes your way. And like you said, may have to jump up and sprint or jump up and lift something heavy. Well, think about it this way. Doing as many smart training days as often and frequently as you can increases those particular levels. And so that when you have to do something without a warm-up, hopefully you're operating, it's at a fraction of the capacity you're capable of because you've built up a higher capacity in training. So what I mean by that is you take your time, you do a good warm-up on a heavy deadlift day, you always train smart, and you've eventually built your way up to a 400-pound deadlift, okay, for a 1 rep max. Fantastic. You probably wouldn't want to just go out and stone cold pull 400 pounds off the ground. Now, if it was a life or death situation, you don't have a choice, so you go ahead and do it. But if through smart training you've built up a 400-pound deadlift, then you have to go out into the real world and pick up a 200-pound person off the ground or a 200-pound object, even though that's really heavy, and that would be really heavy for most untrained people. Well, now it's 50% of your 1 rep max. And so even though you're not warmed up, you have a better chance of lifting it. If your 1 rep max was 225 pounds, because maybe, you just weren't training regularly or whatnot, that 200 pounds is a significantly higher percentage of your 1 rep max, you are probably rolling the dice on straining something more, right? So the higher you build that capacity, when you encounter things in the real world, you most likely have more wiggle room to operate that even though you haven't been warmed up. And the same on like sprint days. If you regularly train sprint days through good warm-ups and things like that, and you've conditioned yourself to do that, if in the world you have to run your tail off and it's anywhere below maximal, you're in better condition than anyone who hasn't developed that high level of tolerance and capacity. And if every now and then you need to truly max out in the real world, well, you've done the best that you can do by treating your body smart and taking the best care of it as possible, as frequently as you can. And there's not much else you can do to prepare yourself for that day where you just had to get after it. So I think, I hear people every now and then who are like, maybe I should train every now and then and not warm up and just get into it. I can follow the theoretical thought process on that, but I don't think that's the best way to do it. Okay, let's see. Next most upvoted question. From Eric. When seeking to enhance running performance, specifically for endurance, should you focus on increasing your steps per minute by moving your legs faster or extending the length of your steps to cover more distance while maintaining the same step count? Should you keep feet close to the floor or raise the knees? Talk about an incredibly interesting and highly technical running question. I wasn't quite sure, to be honest with you. CW CrossFit posted a link to an article covering this exact topic, which goes on for pages and pages, which is way more than I know about this specific topic. So I would recommend you go ahead and read that article. And that article, for anyone who's interested, was posted on scienceofrunning.com, and the name of the article was Understanding Stride Rate and Stride Length. And I read through the article this morning and I really enjoyed it. And even in the first couple paragraphs, it seemed like their answer was not just one or the other, but it's going to be a bit of a combination. Katie G, what inspired you to create CrossFit Linchpin? Has it changed over the years? CrossFit Linchpin, when it started, I'll try to be brief about this. It was my garage gym. Not doing any classes, not doing whatever, just affiliated my garage gym, just why not? And as somebody that just absolutely adored and was obsessive about programming, and I was posting the workouts that I did every day on Instagram or whatnot anyway, and the world's most boring Instagram post, just a snapshot of a dry erase board with the marker on it of what I did that day. So not a lot of catchy content, and people loved it, and were following along, and it was doing really well, which was funny because again it was boring imagery, but obviously they liked the workouts. And so somebody sharper than me brought that to my attention. They were like, why don't you just affiliate your garage? Like, why not? And then you can post these workouts and people can follow along and have a blast. And that really was just the initial conversation and what happened. And that was back in 2014, I believe, is when I made CrossFit Linchpin the gym. And since then, it's just been evolving and changing. Programming has evolved and changed over the years. And I think anybody who says that about a decade has gone by and they haven't changed or evolved or learned something, that's a red flag. 10 years is a lot to be, sifting through data, seeing results, experimenting with things. And so, but what's funny is there may have been some I even fall into that trap for a while, like everybody else as human, where we're going to do a heavy lift plus a Metcon. I fell into that trap for a while. And if you go back in the Wayback Machine to some early days of CrossFit Linchpin, you'll see some workouts like that. And I stopped doing them for myself and for others because it was plainly obvious that the heavy lift plus Metcon, although for some peculiar reason was popular in social media land, was not the most effective way to create fit, fast, strong human beings that were not overtrained. And so that's that. Let's see. One more question from Eric here. I recently participated in a Spartan race, very cool, where many participants mentioned, quote unquote, not being at their peak 100% due to various issues like musculature and joint pain or injuries. This raises the question of whether we can ever truly be at our 100% or are small injuries and pain just part of the daily life we have to accept. Or was that just an excuse for their performance? I think it depends upon who you're talking to, your target audience, and what they have done over the course of their life. So if you're saying peak 100% performance due to injuries, joint pain and muscular injuries, I think joint pain and muscular injuries are just going to be... Let me just put it this way. I know very, very few human beings over 40 years old that aren't dealing with something. And I even know very, very few people over 30 years old who aren't dealing with something, just because you are a rare, profoundly lucky human being. If you've been on planet Earth dealing with all the stuff that we deal with for multiple decades and you haven't taken a ding, a hit, a break, a strain, whether it was a mountain biking wreck, a car accident, something happened on a set of skis, you fell down some stairs, you slipped on some ice, you twisted something, you tore your hamstring in soccer, whatever it was. And depending upon the nature of that, most people deal with a little leftover and residual something forever. There's not too many things that just heal up 100%. Never could have told you that I ever had that break. So I think most people are dealing with something, past a certain age. And your goal is to be a smart athlete and just learn that tolerance, learn your strike zone, and learn how to be able to make good decisions to feel the best you can most of the time, and avoid things that aggravate it, do things that help it and strengthen it and stretch it, and get as close to what your 100% happens to be. Again, I think it would just probably depend upon your target audience there. I'll tell you what, CrossFitters are not immune to this. I've got plenty of well-known CrossFit people that, were the top names back in the day, and now they're out of the competitive scene and they're regular civilians, if you will, and they're all dealing with something, especially if they were on the competitive side. Oh my goodness. Those things come at a cost. You want to do absolutely tip of the spear, razor's edge things with your body and squeeze every ounce of athletic performance in some way, shape, or form. You're writing a check and it's going to get cashed at some point in time. So The goal is to make as smart decisions as often as you can. Kind of like getting back to the first question from Marcus M about, warm-ups or no warm-ups. Make the best decisions and train smart as frequently as you possibly can. And if every now and then you need to deviate that because life or work or an emergency dictates it, okay, fine. But that shouldn't be the go-to. All right, let's see. CW CrossFit. I don't know if I'm too late to add this. You're not. You're good to go. How do you and Emily plan to juggle a 2-year-old and doing test 13, given the amount of time it takes to complete? I don't know what you're talking about. It takes me like 20 minutes. Joking. It's a lie. I'm lucky that I don't have this challenge, but some tips might be helpful for those parents trying to manage and juggle that. As I imagine, fish crackers are not going to be a sustainable solution for you to keep your little hand grenade busy. Quite true. 100% quite true. Let's say, I'm trying to remember how long test 13 took me last time I did it. I filmed a video, again, world's most boring video, just put it on a little stand and wide angle of the track that I did it on, and I think I was over 60 minutes, but below 70 minutes. I can't remember how long it took me. That was with a vest. So let's just say it's going to take me 70 minutes, okay? We could certainly find 70 minutes I could sneak away for that amount of time, just do it in my 400-meter run down my street, burpees in the garage, come back and forth, and then come back in, swap with her, and she could do it. We could certainly do that even with the 2-year-old. But the truest answer is there's absolutely no way that Emily is going to do test number 13. There's absolutely no way. She just doesn't like that kind of stuff. She's not about that life of that particular amount of running. It would not treat her well. She wouldn't enjoy it, and it's not even on the table. So it will be me running solo on that particular one. She's busy enough with just going in, doing stuff, and getting out, and I don't think she's looking to do anything extra. She's not here, but I think she would back me up on that 100%. All right, let's see here. Okay, from the BTWB Squads feature, Arthur C. Fun question. After the test 14 challenge, because this month, September is test 13, will there be a new test 15, or will we start from the beginning? Been loving the challenges so far. Arthur, good question. You're calling me out, my friend. TBD on that one. So there are only 14 linchpin tests. And, so next month we do the test 14 challenge. That will be the end of it. I really don't know. I guess that's the answer. I don't think we're going to just start over again on number 1. I've had some things rolling around in my mind because people do seem to enjoy some monthly challenges of various challenges that could occur. And I don't know if swag would or wouldn't be involved or whatnot. I'm still having a lot of thoughts go through my head. And I don't want to say anything now because then if I say something, I want to reserve the right to change my opinion. And then if we do something different, it might, whatever. All right, but I'll say it. So I don't know. I've even thought about things like, because most of the challenges that we've done so far are, it's a workout, it's done in a day or whatnot. I'm thinking about maybe we do like an actual monthly challenge where over the course of the month, you're trying to do something or focus on something for the entire month. And I don't know if that's a daily thing or if it's a few times a week, whatever it happens to be. But I think that's more what I'm going to be leaning towards, and ideally shaping those challenges in a way that instead of it just doing a single workout on a single day, there's a broader mission in mind of creating them and designing those monthly challenges in a way that help people develop habits that will benefit them long term, not just a workout on a single day. And so, that's a more significant thing for me to design as well. And so I'm rolling that kind of stuff around in my head. So that's the direction that I'm going with. So, and maybe I'll lean on the community for some ideas about that kind of stuff. All right, next question from Thomas S. I'm getting dangerously low on my coffee. Dangerously low. It's gone. That's so sad. That's such a sad point in my morning. Okay. Next question from Thomas S. When should you switch your grip from a full overhand grip to an overhand underhand, aka mixed grip, when doing deadlifts? Is that just an as needed, purely based on your fitness level? So the simplest answer for that would be that most people would recommend that you stick with an overhand grip, and I would say overhand grip, even no hook grip, because that would be the most challenging. Overhand grip, no hook grip for as long as you can. And then when that becomes the limiting factor, you would switch your grip. Now, whether that would be to a hook grip or to a mixed grip, whatever is a more stable and better grip for you, increases your grip strength, allows you to hold onto the bar. When your grip becomes the limiting factor, that's when you would go ahead and do that. But you would want to stick with the regular grip for as long as possible, because the deadlift, on top of everything else that it builds, which is head to toe strength, it certainly is a fantastic grip strength building exercise. And another nice thing that I heard for somebody say one time, I can't take credit for, was if you think of where the deadlift could potentially go one day, leading to the clean, if you will. Well, you're not going to do a clean with a mixed grip. And so if you, at whatever loading you switch from an overhand grip to a mixed grip, I heard somebody say you've now decided that you're never going to clean that weight, which, okay, that's a very, maybe over the top statement. But the point is there is like, gotcha. I should be working also on pulling as heavy as I can and developing this grip strength, because it has transference to another movement. So that would be my simplest answer there. But that's what I do. When I'm warming up and I'm building up my sets, and at some point in time the grip becomes a limiting factor, I switch over to a mixed grip. Josh B. We've got some handstand walks coming up. Do you have a minimum unbroken standard in mind? For example, 5-foot increments like the open when you program these, or do you just assume folks will break them up in any way that they want? And does it matter for the right training stimulus? No. Break it up in any way, shape, or form that you want. And as a matter of fact, most people, that's how they get better at the handstand walk, not only through practice. I almost went into talking about practice sort of thing there. Not only is practice absolutely mission critical with developing the handstand walk, if you have the stability, if you have the strength, if you have all that stuff, then you need to develop the neurological components. Those are developed through practice. And so allowing yourself to do that with the handstand walk will be phenomenal. But there's this interesting thing where people make progress, and incrementally, and then they can make significant progress. And that jump from minimal progress to significant progress is usually when they decide to say, the heck with it, I'm going to do it in the workout today, even though it's probably going to take me a long time, and I'm going to break it up a ton. There's something about that commitment to doing it that just leaps their progress forward. And so I don't want to have a minimum standard, because some people that might be, they got one step on their hand, kicked back down. They got one step on their hand. They got one step. Oh, they kept their balance for 1 second, 2 seconds. They tried for another step. They couldn't get it. They went back down. And just through that actual struggle in the workout, with not paying attention to the clock that day or whatnot, advancement just seems to come there more rapidly than just a casual practice session where there's no other element that you're going to. It seems to be something about, that it's in a workout, and the adaptation just seems to flourish under that environment. So no, I wouldn't say there's a minimum distance required. You can get up there and you can knock out that, the handstand walks and the amount of rounds or whatever it happens to be for the upcoming workout, whether it's in 10-foot segments, 5-foot segments. You're amazing at handstand walks. It happens a lot. Or it's this, you kick up, you get a couple feet, you kick down. You kick up, you get a couple feet, you kick down. All of that is going to move you in the right direction. And I actually think for a lot of people, until they start throwing their hat in the ring, that they won't get the advancement that they need. So as long as you're safe and you can pull it off and you can shut your ego off and not worry about the clock, it's a good day to practice your handstand walk. All right, let's see here. Corey W. Why should the average human being train the snatch? Is it more for the strength or training your central nervous system, since it's such a complex lift? Great question. And truth be told, there are things that are said which are just useful shorthands for larger discussions, right? And so a shorthand would be, in CrossFit we train movements that are, universal motor recruitment patterns. They are unavoidable. They are found on planet Earth. You're going to be forced to do them if you don't do them. Okay? Passing below parallel, deadlifts, things like that. Well, then you can be like, okay, forced to do them, found on planet Earth, unavoidable. I've never seen anyone in nature snatch, so why are we doing that? Or the movement that we just talked about a second ago. I've never seen anyone on planet Earth have to walk on their hands, so why are we doing that? And so some of these things are just meaningful shorthands for what are broader discussions. And things like handstand walking or the snatch, for example, are movements that fall under the category of, although you won't see them in nature, there are some things which have such significant adaptation or are so beneficial that they're useful and they have a place in training. Handstand walking or a reasonable modification for where your skill level is one of those things, and so is the snatch. The snatch is a fantastic lift because it's such a complex lift. Back in the day, a long time ago, before CrossFit really changed the scene of strength and conditioning and people started doing more complex and more technical movement patterns in their daily fitness routines, that's not what life was like. I guess I'm maybe old enough to realize that. Most people didn't even deadlift or squat, to be honest with you. There was no power cleans in gyms. There was no kipping pull-ups. There was no rope climbs. There was no muscle-ups. There was no double unders. It was all machine-based movement. You would do leg extension, leg curl, the leg press. That was it. Nobody deadlifted or squatted or did, things that you actually had to engage your brain about how your body was moving. You sat on a machine. It controlled the range of motion. You could almost shut your brain off and just go through the motions. Now we're doing things with barbells, squats, cleans, deads, overhead squats, clean and jerks, snatches that not only strengthen your musculature, but also 100% force you to have your brain connected to your body and are much more demanding on your central nervous system because they are a complicated lift and they involve the neurological components to a very large degree that those previously mentioned machine-based movements did not. The neurological components being coordination, accuracy, agility, and balance, none of which are needed when you just plop yourself down on a machine. And of course, you're not really strengthening your midline that much on a machine when you sit on the leg press and you just the backrest is doing it for you. And so movements like the clean and jerk, and the snatch specifically, although not found in nature, it's challenging. I don't think there's a more complicated barbell lift on the face of the earth. And so exposing yourself and practicing challenging things that are challenging in a sequence of events and coordination as to how you need to move your body to properly execute the lift, and you have to have your brain engaged while you're doing it. You're helping your mind and you're helping your body at the same time, and there's tremendous benefit to that. To doing complicated things, doing complicated hard things is good for you, and the snatch is one of those things, even though you don't find it in nature. Now, that being said, if the snatch just doesn't treat you well, and there's some people that it doesn't, like me, bad shoulders from military and motorcycle wrecks, and it doesn't feel good. I'm doing myself more harm than good. And there are plenty of other people I know in the group that when snatching comes up, they do something else. And it's not because they have a gripe with the actual snatch and they understand the benefits of it. That just might be something that you've done to your body over the years that movement now doesn't treat you well. And they might choose the clean and jerk on that day. We give some other options. If there's other things that you can do. Because if you can snatch, fantastic. Snatch. It's going to make other things that you do better, and that's why we do it. We don't do it to turn anybody into Olympic lifters. We do it because there's some benefit in that movement. But you could still reap similar benefits even if you couldn't snatch. We could Find ways to pull from the ground with an explosive hip opening and go overhead and strengthen your midline, your posterior chain, and do it in a way that's not simple, that requires your brain to be engaged at the same time. There are other options to do that. So even though it's not found in nature, it's a very, very, the benefits of the snatch are relatively high. Okay. Final question from Alex W. On sprint days, you mentioned that we can sub in a hill sprint if we want. Would this be a hill of the same distance and length as the sprints, or does it depend upon the incline? Same number of sprints or fewer? Great question. So relatively speaking, generally speaking, it would be the same number of sprints. Now with regards to the distance, that would really depend upon the incline of the hill. If you've got a nice, a gentle incline, most likely you're going to be exactly the same with the distance. Now, if you're off a little bit, that's still a-okay. Like, let me give you an example. Maybe when you regularly do a 200-meter dash, let's say that it takes you 40 seconds, okay? And now you found, pardon me, you found yourself a hill. And when you sprint the hill, it takes you 44 seconds to do it. You're fine. I wouldn't even worry 2 seconds about that at all. Do it exactly as it is. Do that distance. You're great. Now, if sprints on flat ground normally take you a 200 meter 40 seconds and you do the hill sprint and it takes you 55 seconds, that's probably one heck of an incline. And then, yeah, I'd probably ratchet it down a little bit. But if you're, within 5 seconds of your 200 meter sprint time, I don't think you've got any issues with that at all, especially with regards to concerned of what metabolic pathway you're training or whatnot. You are going to be 100% good to go. And sprint and hill sprints are just phenomenal. So if you've got access to the hill, I think that's a great. When I lived in California for a while, I could walk to the beach, and where I was, there was this crazy set of stairs, like just tons and tons of stairs, because it was kind of like on cliffs going down to the ocean. And I would walk to those and do stair sprints on some sprint days as well. And man, if you can run hills every now and then, or you can sprint stairs, it's a great little bit of variance. So, okay, fantastic questions, everybody. Really appreciate it. Hope everybody's enjoying their rest day, and we'll talk again soon. Have a good day.